Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be showing how to build a pivot chart. And similar to a pivot table, pivot chart's a great way to look at a lot of data. And as we can see here, let me get up to the top. So we have 751 rows, 751 records of data. So that's a lot to kind of look at and ascertain, what's really going on. You can easily just create a table from this, and well, not necessarily a table, but you can create a graph if you wanted to, just as easy. But with pivot tables, it allows you to manipulate it, so you can adjust and see just kind of what is really going on, and there in turn the pivot chart will be created as well. So go ahead and get started here. So little information we've got. So we have 7 columns of data here: year, region, client ID, so you can see what's going on. In terms of how many years, well, I believe we've got 5 years worth of information here. Yep. Region, I believe we got 3 regions, so you can kind of see what's going on. Alright, so let's get started. Let's create a pivot chart. So we go to our Insert tab, first thing. Next thing we're going to do is go to the drop down for the pivot table, and then we will select Pivot Chart. So, alright, so it looks like it does this by default, by the way. So it went from cell A1 to cell G751, so that's correct. We want to make sure we get all the records. You don't have to, but I mean, since you're trying to look at all the data, then it's kind of suggested. So next thing, we want to make sure that we're going to create a new worksheet. You can put it on an existing worksheet if you wanted to, but in this case we'll just do it on a new. Then we'll hit OK. So you can see it's creating. It's showing what's available to be done. So these are the pivot table field lists. So let's get started. Let's take our year, put that into a filter, and into the report filter. This is the pane down here. So you can see it's starting to build it. Okay, the next thing we want to do is let's take a look at the region, because we had 3 regions. So we'll put this down here in the axis fields so you can see what it's doing. We have the 3 regions, and let's look at annual spend. Let's put this in the values. Okay, so pretty quick, pretty easy. We can see that we've got the 3 regions. Looks like the south is the highest performing region in terms of sales, so this is the sum. So what we can do is we can get an average and see where the average for these 3 regions is, what's occurring there. So what I do is I click where in cell B3. So I will, once I get the cursor there, then I will right click and go to value field settings. There we go. So now we can do an average, and let's also change the number format. So you can see it's showing 3 decimal places. We probably don't really want 3 decimal places when we're showing currency. So go to number formats in the same window, and let's go to currency, 2 decimal places, that's fine. Select OK, and then OK again. So it formatted it for us. So it gives us a nice, easy to read table. Pretty simple. There's a lot of things that you can do with this. This is where creating a pivot chart is more advantageous as opposed to creating just a normal graph. So now we can manipulate these however we want. So example, let's put annual spend back. We didn't have to do that, but that's okay. And let's take region and put it in the filter. I'll show you why in just a minute. So next thing we want to do, let's take the client ID number, put that in the axis field. So see what it's doing, it's throwing out every single client ID that we have. So let's say that we wanted to find out which client spends the most money with us. Okay, well, we can easily do that. Let's see, so we got client ID. Now we're going to put value. So let's put annual spend in the values. There we go. So what it's doing, it's pulling it across every single region. Well, that gets a lot cumbersome. That gets rather cumbersome. So let's restrict it. Let's look at what happened for this year 2013. Okay, so there we go. And the next filter we'll put on, let's look at what was going on in the south, because that was one of the highest regions. So there we go. So as you can see, looks like this client right here, this is their client ID 30552. You can cross-reference that with, you know, whatever, if you had the information on that. That for the south is the highest spending client. So there you have it. That is how a pivot table, or excuse me, a pivot chart, well, a pivot table and then their in turn a pivot chart is put together. So it's a great way to look at data, as I said before. So I hope this helps, and have a good day.